Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Tales from the Crypt review. Today it is Season 2, Episode 2, The Switch, directed by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and starring William Hickey as Carlton Webster and Kelly Preston as Linda. And this is a solid and entertaining episode overall. It's a little bit lighter in tone. It's not quite as dark as some of the other episodes we've seen so far. And it's a little bit by the numbers, meaning scenes just kind of go from A to B and repeat themselves. But overall, it's a fun, entertaining episode that I think fans of the series will enjoy. And we start with a pretty funny segment with the Crypt Keeper pumping iron in his own way. And we get a cameo from the director, Arnold Schwarzenegger, which fits in with the tone of the episode pretty well. It was one of the better Crypt Keeper opening segments so far. It was pretty amusing. So the plot of this episode, we start with an elderly gentleman. His name is Carlton. He's our main character. And it turns out he's talking to a man that works for him. His name is Fulton, I believe. And he talks about how he's in love with this woman named Linda. The only problem is she's much, much younger than him. But he's not going to let that get him down. We also learn this guy has a lot of money. And Carlton's just really excited about the whole situation. Now, Fulton's a little bit concerned about Linda just wanting him for his money, but Carlton says, I'm not going to tell her about that. She'll have to really love me for us to be together. And I have to say, by the end of this episode, Carl will probably wish he would have handled things differently. So at this point, Carlton goes to see Linda, and we meet her character. And he asks Linda to marry him, but Linda says he's just flat out too old. She comes right out and says it. And Carlton agrees with her, and he says he'll do something about it. So Carlton goes to this plastic surgeon to try and look younger, but he's not satisfied that he can look young enough. He says he needs a whole new face. So the doctor recommends him to this other doctor, who I guess is the only one that can perform this. And this guy lives in a creepy old place. I have to say this was pretty amusing. This other doctor says he can do this, but it'll cost $1 million. The surgery is only like $100,000, but the other $900,000 goes to this man named Hans, who's going to give away his face. So it's notable that Hans will be getting a lot of money for this, so everything's fine up to this point. So Carlton and Hans go through with this operation, and Carlton has a much younger face. So he goes back to Linda, but she's still unsure. She tells Carlton that his body is still too old, basically. So Carlton is discouraged, but he's still determined to fix this. So at this point, it's also notable that Fulton is a little bit concerned about this, but Carlton does it anyway. This time it's going to cost him $2 million, so it's very notable at this point that Hans is getting a lot of money off of Carlton. But this does work. Carlton gets a new body, and then we get a pretty funny scene, I have to say, where Carlton is working out at the beach, I think it is, and Linda's impressed. Things seem to be going well. They seem to be having a good time. But then she notices when he changes into his swim trunks that he's still got the legs of an elderly man. And it's also pretty funny because William Hickey's voice is still here, even though Carlton looks much, much different now. I thought that was pretty humorous. We have the young guy's face with the older man's voice. I really liked that touch. That was pretty good. So at this point, Carlton is really distressed, but he's determined to win over Linda. So he has to, at this point, let go of Fulton's services because he says he can't afford him anymore, which I thought was kind of weird because at this point, Carlton still has quite a bit of money, but I guess he figures he's going to lose it all. So at this point, Carlton does get a new lower body, but it's going to cost him $3 million this time. In an okay scene, but at this point it is starting to get a little bit to be repetitive as we go through the operation for a third time. It works okay, but I would have maybe liked something a little bit more creative here. But so they only have a half hour here, so I guess you just got to go with it. So at this point, Carlton's excited. He's now got this great body and this great face and everything. So he goes to see Linda, but he finds out she's moved, and we should suspect as an audience something's going to happen here. So he goes to Linda's new place, and it looks a lot nicer than her old one, I have to say. He asks to marry her again, but Linda says she's already married. She said she needed a man with money this whole time. And it turns out that she is now married to Hans, who looks just like Carlton did at the beginning. So if Carlton would have just told her about the money, he would have been in good shape. But I will say not all's really bad for Carlton, because if he can figure out a way to get some money, he's looking a lot younger now. Let's just say it like that. But he doesn't get the girl that he wanted. And as a nice added touch that I thought was funny, Fulton is there now working for Hans. I actually really appreciate those kind of little touches. So overall, this is a solid episode. I don't think it quite hits the great range, but it is a very good and entertaining episode. And I'm going to give The Switch a 3.5 out of 5. Definitely a solid and entertaining episode for fans of the show to watch. So a 3.5 out of 5 for The Switch, and as always, thank you very much for watching.